My dearest Shigeko, if you are reading this, it means I have already become a star in the sky, watching over you and our unborn child. Corporal Yukio Araki was 23 years old when he wrote those words. It was May 1945, and the war was clearly lost, but Japan fought on with increasing desperation. Yukio had been a university student studying literature before being drafted. He loved poetry, philosophy, and above all, his young wife Shigeko, whom he had married just 8 months earlier. What made Yukio's story uniquely tragic was the timing. 3 weeks before he received his orders to join the Kamikaze unit at Chiran Air Base, Shigeko had shared news that filled him with both overwhelming joy and devastating sorrow. She was pregnant. In 4 months, he would become a father. The child would be born in September, when the autumn leaves turned gold. That night, they had cried together in their small apartment, holding each other as the weight of reality crushed them. Yukio knew what his orders meant. The Kamikaze program had become increasingly desperate, taking anyone who could fly. There would be no escape, no exceptions, no miracles. At Chiran Air Base in southern Kyushu, Yukio began his training. But unlike many of his fellow pilots, he couldn't find acceptance in death. Every morning, he woke thinking of the child he would never meet. Boy or girl? Would they have Shigeko's gentle eyes or his stubborn chin? What would their first word be? Their first steps? He would miss everything, the entire lifetime of a human being he had helped create. The base commander at Chiran was more humane than most. He allowed the pilots to write multiple letters and even permitted local schoolgirls to visit, bringing flowers and encouragement. One girl, 11-year-old Reiko Akabane, took a special interest in Yukio. She noticed how he sat apart from the others, how his eyes carried a deeper sadness. "Why do you look so sad, Soldier-san?" Reiko asked one afternoon, offering him a small bundle of wildflowers she'd picked. Yukio smiled weakly. "I'm going to be a father, Reiko-chan, but I'll never see my child." The girl's eyes filled with tears. From that day on, she visited him every afternoon she could, bringing whatever small comforts she could find, flowers, origami cranes she'd folded, sometimes a piece of fruit from her family's garden. In those brief moments, Yukio could pretend he was an older brother, could imagine what it might have been like to watch his own child grow. Yukio wrote letters obsessively. Not just the required farewell letter, but dozens of them, one for every birthday his child would have until age 20. Letters for their first day of school, their graduation, their wedding day. Letters full of advice he would never give in person, love he would never express face-to-face, apologies for an absence that could never be forgiven. "Dear child," one letter began, "today you are 5 years old. You have probably started to ask questions about me. Your mother has shown you my photograph. I am the stranger who will never hold you, never bandage your scraped knees, never teach you to ride a bicycle. I am your father, and I am so sorry." He sealed each letter and addressed them by age and occasion. He gave them all to Reiko's mother, who promised to deliver them to Shigeko at the appropriate times. "Please," he begged, "make sure my child knows I loved them, that I wanted so desperately to stay." On May 27, 1945, Yukio's orders came. He would fly the next morning. That final night, he wrote one last letter, not to his unborn child, but to Shigeko. "My beloved wife, I have tried to be brave, but I must confess the truth now that I face my final hours. I am terrified, not of death itself, but of losing you, of losing our child, of losing all the beautiful ordinary moments we should have had together. I wanted to grow old with you. I wanted to watch our child become an adult. I wanted to meet our grandchildren. Every ordinary day would have been a miracle, and I am being robbed of thousands of miracles." He continued, "I have written letters for our child's future, but I know they are a poor substitute for a father's presence. How can paper and ink replace a hand to hold, a voice to comfort, arms to embrace? I am leaving you alone to raise our child in a broken country, and the guilt is crushing me. Please tell our child that I didn't want to go. Please tell them that every moment I had with you was perfect. Please tell them that my last thought will be of you both." The letter was never finished. The final sentence stopped mid-word, as if Yukio couldn't bear to write the word goodbye. At dawn on May 28, 1945, Yukio walked to his aircraft. Reiko was there, having sneaked away from home before sunrise. She pressed something into his hand, a tiny origami crane she'd folded from red paper. "For good luck," she whispered. "Come back as a bird and visit your baby." Yukio couldn't speak. He simply nodded, clutching the fragile paper bird, and climbed into his aircraft. The engine started. The propeller spun. He taxied to the runway, his plane loaded with explosives and just enough fuel for a one-way trip to Okinawa. According to American naval records, at 6:47 a.m. that morning, a lone Zero fighter broke through the destroyer screen around the carrier USS Bunker Hill. The pilot flew with unusual determination, dodging anti-aircraft fire with skilled maneuvers. He struck the carrier's flight deck at full speed, causing massive damage and killing 346 American sailors. In the wreckage, American sailors found fragments of photographs, a young woman smiling, what might have been a wedding portrait. They found a red paper crane, somehow miraculously intact amid the destruction. And they found part of a letter, burned and water-damaged, with only a few legible words. "My beloved our child, forgive me." Shigeko gave birth to a daughter in September 1945, just weeks after Japan's surrender. She named her Tomiko, meaning child of wealth, hoping for a better life than the poverty and devastation surrounding them. She never remarried, telling people she was still waiting for Yukio to come home. True to her promise, Reiko's mother delivered the letters over the years. Every birthday, every milestone, Tomiko received a letter from the father she never knew. On her 5th birthday, she got the letter about scraped knees and bicycles. On her 12th birthday, one about navigating adolescence. On her 20th birthday, the final letter arrived. "Dear Tomiko," it read, "You are now the age I almost reached. You are an adult, standing at the beginning of your life, while I stood at the end of mine. I hope you have known happiness. I hope your mother has been strong. I hope you have not hated me too much for leaving you. Please know that I tried to stay. Please know that not a single moment of my final days passed without me thinking of you. Please know that wherever I am now, I am still your father, and I am still so proud of you, even though I never had the chance to know who you became." Reiko Akabane, the schoolgirl who had befriended Yukio, spent her entire life advocating for peace. She built a small memorial at Chiran, keeping photographs and letters from the pilots she had known. She gave speeches about the waste of young lives, the tragedy of families destroyed, the horror of a system that turned children into weapons. Yukio-san didn't want to die, she would tell visitors. None of them wanted to die. They were sons, brothers, husbands, fathers. They were poets and students and farmers. And they were all scared children, pretending to be brave. In 2015, at age 81, Reiko finally met Tomiko, who was now 70 years old. The two women stood together at Yukio's memorial plaque, separated by decades, but connected by the same loss. Tomiko brought the red origami crane, not the one Yukio had carried, which was lost at sea, but one she had learned to fold herself, replicating what Reiko had made all those years ago. He held it in his hand until the very end. Reiko said quietly, "I like to think it brought him some comfort." Tomiko pressed the paper crane to her heart. "My father wrote me 50 letters, but he never wrote the word goodbye." Every letter ended mid-sentence, as if he was still speaking, still hoping for more time. Even at the end, he couldn't let go. The two women stood in silence as cherry blossoms fell around them like snow, each petal a brief and beautiful life, blooming and falling in its season. Yukio Araki's story became one of the most documented kamikaze tragedies because of those letters. Intimate glimpses into a mind that refused to accept the propaganda, that remained defiantly human until the end. His words revealed what the military rhetoric tried to hide. These were not divine warriors embracing glorious death, but terrified young men forced into an impossible choice, mourning futures they would never live. The cruelest irony was that Yukio died for nothing. The war was already lost. His sacrifice changed nothing strategically. Within 3 months, Japan would surrender. If he had survived just 90 more days, he would have met his daughter, held her in his arms, watched her grow up. He would have had all those ordinary miracles he wrote about, birthday parties, school plays, teaching her to ride a bicycle. Instead, he became a memory preserved in letters, an absence shaped like a father, a story that breaks the heart of everyone who hears it. Today, Yukio's letters are preserved in the Cheer and Peace Museum. Thousands of visitors read them every year, many leaving in tears. His story asks the question that no nation wants to answer. How many Yukios were sacrificed? How many children grew up without fathers? How many love stories were ended before they could truly begin? The red origami crane that Tomiko folded sits beside her father's letters in a glass case. It's a symbol of the little girl who tried to give comfort to a doomed pilot, and of the daughter who spent her entire life getting to know a father through words on paper, trying to piece together a relationship from fragments and absence. In the end, Yukio Araki's tragedy wasn't just that he died. It was that he died knowing exactly what he was losing, naming each loss in precise detail, and being powerless to prevent any of it. His letters don't speak of glory or honor. They speak of ordinary love, everyday dreams, and the unbearable pain of goodbye. My dearest Shigeko, my beloved Tomiko, I am so sorry I had to leave. Please forgive me. Please remember me. Please live the beautiful lives I could not. Those were among the last coherent words Yukio wrote before dawn took him away forever.